Alright, so today we are still continuing on lesson 2.3. So this is the assignment, Do the Math. And we are still looking at quadratics. Okay, so for the first part, I went ahead and clicked Start. So this is the first question. It says, use the information to answer part A and B. Solve 2x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals 0 using the quadratic formula. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is identify A, B, and C. If you remember in the last video, I told you A is the number in front of your x squared, B is the number in front of x, and C is the constant. So we are going to put a 2 for A, a -5 for B. Again, don't forget the sign that goes with it. And then C is equal to 1. Alright, moving down to B part, it says substitute the values for part A in the quadratic formula and simplify. Okay, so using the equation above, so the first thing we need to know is what is our A, B, and C. So I'll just make sure you make a note of these. A is 2, B is -5, and C is 1. So that's the numbers we're using right now. Alright, so for the quadratic formula, again, here's the formula. And we need -b. Alright, so b is -5, so -5 is just 5. Then we have the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. C again was 1. And then we're going to simplify underneath. So we're going to do 5. That comes straight down. And then we're going to simplify the discriminant. So if you take what's under the square root, that's considered the discriminant. And we're going to do -5 squared, which is 25, and then minus 8. So we're going to put 17 in there, and then we just do 2 times 2. Which is 4. All right, moving on to the next question. It says determine the number and type of solutions for the quadratic equation. All right, so it gives us this first equation, it gives us a second equation, and it gives us a third equation. So let's start with part A. Find the discriminant for the quadratic equation 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. Alright, so remember the discriminant is just the part under the square root. This is one of your vocabulary terms, so you need to know what a discriminant is. So we've got b squared. If you look up here, we know that 2 is our A, -3 is B, and 7 is C. So for b squared, we need to substitute a -3 in here. And then our A is a 2, and C is 7. And then if we simplify that, we're going to have alright, so we're going to have 9 minus 8 times 7, so that is 9 minus 56, so that's going to be -47. Alright. And then part B says use the discriminant from part A to determine the number and type of solutions. So the discriminant is -47. So the discriminant in part A is negative. So there are, we remember if they're negative, there are 2 complex or imaginary solutions. For C part, the discriminant of the quadratic equation. So we're going to do just the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. I was getting ready to do the whole quadratic formula, but we're just doing the discriminant. B in this case is -6 minus 4 times a. If you look up here, a doesn't have a number, but it has a negative sign, so that's assumed to be a -1. And then C is the number on the end, and that is an 8. Alright, so we can see that we have -6 squared, that's 36, And then two negatives make this positive. Two of the three numbers are negative, so that makes that positive 32. So 36 plus 32 is 68. All right, so if our discriminant for C is positive, that means there are two real solutions for that answer. All right, and then we're going to look at the discriminant for one more question. All right, this one is not written in standard form, so be careful before you, let me see if I can write on it. So this one should be written as 2x squared minus 4x, and we have to add 2. This has to be set equal to 0 to be in standard form. So I'm going to add 2 equals 0. And so that will make a difference in your A, B, and C. So A is 2, B is negative 4, and C is also 2. As you can see, if you go straight from this equation, you're going to plug in the wrong value for C. All right, so for B squared, B is negative 4, so we're going to do negative 4 squared times negative 4 times A times C, and again C is 2. All right, so we're going to have 16 negative. One negative means we're subtracting. So we're going to have 4 times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So we're going to have 16 minus 16, which is 0. All right, if the discriminant in part E is 0, that means we have one real solution. All right, one more question here. Which of the functions represents the graph shown below and why? All right, so we're given three functions, f of x, g of x, and h of x. All right, so it says identify the pattern in the graph and the properties that the quadratic equation should show. All right, so we can see that this graph has one distinct solution because it touches at the vertex and it doesn't cross the x-axis. If it crossed through, it would have two solutions. If it was up in a quadrant, it would have no real to imaginary solutions. But this quadratic equation has one distinct, one real solution at the vertex, which is at 5, 0. All right, so let's see what the questions ask. The graph shows one real solution, so the discriminant has to be 0. Find the discriminant for the functions. So we're going to find the discriminant of each of these. Again, remember the discriminant is found. This is something that you need to commit to memory. But b squared minus 4ac. All right, so you're going to do b squared minus 4ac for each of these. Take just a minute, go ahead and pause the video and find those, and then come back when you're ready. All right, hopefully you found the discriminant for all three of these. Let's see if you found the same thing I did. 29, negative 7, and 0. All right, as the discriminant of one function is 0, the graph represents. Okay, so which one was 0? The discriminant for h of x is 0. So h of x is 0, and the graph represents that function. All right, that's all for these examples. If you have any questions, let me know.